Today, we are interviewing one of the leading imams in California. As a matter of fact, San Diego, California. This imam has agreed to come forward and address some of the hot issues, the controversial swirlings that have been going around in the American society considering these economic and political times. This leader of the oldest long-standing mosque in California has agreed to address these hot issues. We're going to discuss the building of the mosque at Ground Zero, the possibility of the veil being outlawed in the country of France for Muslim women. We'll be discussing the differences between the Nation of Islam and the community that follows the Quran and the life example of Prophet Muhammad of over 1,400 years ago. This imam is Wali Faridan, an outstanding leader in the Muslim community who has agreed to cover these tough issues and answer some of the questions that you may have. Imam Wali is here with us, and before we get into the meat of it, we'd like for you to cover, or for the people to get to know you better. As we understand, you're a businessman and have a successful business. Tell us about that, please.
Yes, thank you first, and I also like to thank the viewing audience. I would like to give a shout out to them, and we always say, Assalamu alaikum, may the peace and blessings of God be upon you. And I like to witness that there is no God but God, and that Muhammad is his servant. Yes, I've been in business now maybe 33 to 34 years. And in the air conditioning and refrigeration business. That's my has been my sense of livelihood, and I've managed to raise 2 families with that business, and sustain myself. And I've had numerous employees, come in and out of the business, and the business is still going. And so that's been a very good effort for us, called Faridan's Refrigeration. I was kind of inspired to go into that business by an elder Muslim that I used to know. I used to look up to him, named Walter Mitchell, who's deceased now. But he had an appliance business. But I was impressed with him, because he was in Islam, and he was kind of a wise man, I guess you might say, in Islam. So as a result of that, I used to sit over his house many nights, and just like I'm sitting next to you and talking and asking questions. But he was in that business, and so I kind of, after taking such a liking to him, I was thinking that, hey, maybe I can do this. And he was in residential, but I didn't go into residential refrigeration. I went into commercial.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's very good. I understand that you are almost on 24-hour call in your business.
Yeah, sometimes, Try not to be, but sometimes.
I see. Yeah. In my discussions with you, I learned that you were in the United States Navy. As a matter of fact, you are an honorably discharged veteran of the United States Navy.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. What ship were you on? What were your duties? And how long did you serve?
Well, I served 4 years. Let me start with the last part of the question, 4-year tour. I was in the, as you said, the U.S. Navy, and the first ship was the Bonham Richards, which was called, I think it was CVA 34, was the number on that. Called the Bonham Richards. We decommissioned that ship, in fact, up in Birmingham, Washington. And it used to have a crack in the hull, because it had been damaged in one of the wars. So, and they never did get it completely fixed. And then when I crossed decks, they call it in the military. I went over to the Constellation, and which was 62, and it was CVA 62, an aircraft carrier.
Aircraft carrier.
In fact, both of them were aircraft carriers. So I went in 1968, during the Vietnam War.
Is that right?
Right.
During the Vietnam War?
Yes, I was there. I served overseas, in fact, during that war.
Is that right?
And my duties was I manned the gun mount, which was a 5-inch 38 at that time caliber, gun mount. So I was in the semi-enclosed gun mount. Navy people hearing this will know. And and that was the job. Plus, I was in what they call the deck force, bosun's mate. So I'm good at tying knots and rigging things because that was chipping paint and all those kind of things. Because they're the duties of the bosun's mate in the military. So, and I was, like I said, I was in there for 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah, I elected to get out at that time. Because of we had a little bit of a conflict in the sense that I joined the Nation of Islam while I was in there, and then that kind of teaching wasn't compatible at that time, So I elected to get out, and that's what I did.
Well, that's very interesting. As a matter of fact, I too was in the United States Navy, and decided to stay in and became a part of the Nation of Islam.
Wow.
Now, this is a interesting question because I think a lot of the viewing audience may not know how you became Muslim, what brought it about. How and when did you become Muslim, and did you come through the Nation of Islam, or did you come through other means?
Well, I became a Muslim in 1970, and I was still, as I said, in the U.S. military, United States Navy, and the Nation of Islam was the name of the organization at that time. We call it the Lost Found Nation of Islam. And then when I accepted to become Muslim, they didn't accept me at that time because the way they were sort of set up militarily, or based on nationalism. And so as a result of that, they thought that it would be a conflict of interest. I'm trying to be in two armies, at that time. So I couldn't officially be in, but I could be a Muslim, but I couldn't officially be in the Nation of Islam. But that was the first invitation I had. I was on my way to visit one of the young ladies I had met here in San Diego, and a couple of the brothers who were out there fishing while I was at the bus stop, and brought me to this facility that we are in talking about in Masjid Taqwa. They brought me to Masjid Taqwa.
Now, when you say fishing, of course, you're using the term that other faiths use, meaning bringing believers or propagating the faith.
Right, propagating the faith.
Yes.
And they were specifically, because I said the Nation of Islam at that time was sort of a nationalistic organization. Also, it was maybe focusing more on social reform than as its main thrust. So they were out there to get a lot of African Americans, and they were targeting African Americans. They weren't after others. They were targeting African Americans to come down and introduce to this new religion, Islam. So that's how I wound up coming in. So it was in 1970.
1970.
And I came in through the doors of the Nation of Islam.